What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. We hope all is well wherever you are. We hope you're happy, safe, healthy, and that you are enjoying the Christmas season, the movies, the music, the hot chocolate, the candies, the treats. I hope it's all just kind of washing over you, especially as the Dallas Cowboys continue to pile up all these wins and have all of this success. Now, the Dallas Cowboys, our Dallas Cowboys, have a big game on Sunday. They'll be on the road taking on the Buffalo Bills, and we'll be live right afterwards here on the Blog and the Boys YouTube channel. Make sure you do subscribe to break down, hopefully, another win. But it is not the only important football game happening this week, and that's what we're here to talk about today. As we do every week, as things get more and more serious relative to the playoff picture for the Dallas Cowboys, we're telling you what you have to root for. This week, actually, you have some things going on Saturday. There are 3 NFL games. I know it's college football bowl season and whatnot, but as it relates to the NFL, we have a lot of games that we want to see certain results happen in so that they can help the Dallas Cowboys. Once again, the Cowboys are taking care of business themselves, but they're in a position, they're in a place where they do still need some help. Now let's take a look at the NFC standings at the moment. As you can see, the San Francisco 49ers, I know it stinks, currently have the 1 seed in the NFC. The Dallas Cowboys, because we currently lead the NFC East, are the 2 seed. But as we've told you many times to this point, while the Dallas Cowboys are currently in first place in the NFC East and the 2nd overall seed in the conference, they do not have control in the division. If the Philadelphia Eagles win out, which means they have the control in their hands right now, they win the division. So that is part of why we need some help, and we'll talk about that as well as everything else. The Detroit Lions lost last week, so they are your 3 seed at the moment of the conference, and it really feels like that is the floor for San Francisco, the NFC East winner, and Detroit, because whoever winds up winning the NFC South, currently it's projected to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're not climbing really any higher than the 4th overall seed. Our wild card teams at the moment, the 5 seed has been the Dallas Cowboys for forever now, but is currently the Philadelphia Eagles. You know that. The 6th seed, the Minnesota Vikings. We'll see what happens. Obviously, as the week continues to unfold, they do play on Saturday. Your 7th seed, the Green Bay Packers. And then you see all the teams right there that are kind of contending for a playoff spot. The LA Rams are your first team out. The Seattle Seahawks, who are rooting for this weekend. The Atlanta Falcons and New Orleans Saints are both not only in the mix for a wild card, but also obviously for the NFC South title. Tommy DeVito has the New York Giants with a new lease on life. The Chicago Bears, our buddy Matt Eberflus, is doing pretty well, and the Washington Commanders hanging out right there. We're dipping pretty far low. The Commanders obviously do not have high odds of reaching the playoffs, but this takes us to our rooting guide for this week. We have 7 games that don't involve the Cowboys, because if you are here and we have to tell you to root for the Dallas Cowboys, well, I would reevaluate some things a little bit, but nevertheless, this is what we want to see happen. Now, we have put these in chronological order for you, so if you want to take a screenshot, you can kind of mark them off as the weekend goes along. If you don't like this vision because you don't want my face on there, that really hurts my feelings, but we do share a square version of this graphic as well all over the Blog and the Boys social channels. You can follow me or hit me up in a DM on Instagram, and I'll get that for you if you want it. But starting on Saturday, we want to see 2 specific things. We want to see the Cincinnati Bengals beat the Minnesota Vikings, and we want to see the Detroit Lions beat the Denver Broncos. Now, rule of thumb is we always want to see NFC teams lose to AFC teams, and that's in week 1 or week 18, whatever the case may be. We always want to see the Cowboys pick up however they can, kind of how we want to see NFC East teams lose. We always want the Cowboys to win and their primary competition to lose. So again, in that sense, we're always rooting against NFC teams. So why are we rooting for the Detroit Lions? Well, this has been the case for a few weeks now, and we're going to acknowledge right now that while the Dallas Cowboys can clinch a playoff berth this week in a number of different ways, we did a video on that subject earlier this week on our channel. I'll link to the article that I wrote down below at bloggingtheboys.com that tells you all the scenarios. While the Cowboys can clinch a playoff scenario through some things, we're actually rooting against some of those things, because we know the Cowboys are going to be a playoff team. We're not focused on that. We're focused on establishing the best overall path for the Cowboys in the playoffs, which means we do not have to quote unquote worry about Dallas securing a playoff spot this specific week. So as we take a look at the NFC standings, the reason we're rooting against the Vikings is because it's more likely right now that Dallas is going to not win the NFC East. Again, anything can happen, but if we assume that to be the case, that would mean that Dallas is very likely going to be the 5 seed. We want them to become the 5 seed officially as soon as possible, because if the Cowboys do not have the first round bye, which is only afforded to the number one seed in the conference, we want them to have the ability to manufacture one of their own in week 18, to rest up players, to plan this, to plan that, to start preparations, obviously, and not have to take that week 18 game on the road against the Commanders seriously. We want the Cowboys to have that luxury, which means we want basically every NFC team on this list that is competing for a wild card to lose. Not every single one, but basically. So that's why the Vikings, who are right there, technically the second wild card in the conference behind right now the Eagles, we want to see them lose. We want to see everybody lose to give Dallas all the more room for error if they wind up being a wild card team. That's why we're rooting against Minnesota. So RJ, you told me that we root against NFC teams. Why are we rooting for the Detroit Lions? You see right there against the Denver Broncos. Here's my thing, and I don't just say my thing. Myself and Jess Haney, one of our talented writers at bloggingtheboys.com, he and I get together every week. We talk about this, we figure it out, et cetera, et cetera. Jess and I have been telling you for weeks that if the Cowboys cannot be the one seed in the NFC, we do not want it to be the San Francisco 49ers. We do not want it to be the Philadelphia Eagles. If it cannot be the Cowboys, we want it to be the Detroit Lions. Why? Because they're not the teams that we are the most afraid of, the teams that we are bothered the most by. So if it can't be the Cowboys, let it be Detroit. And in order for it to be Detroit, they have to continue to keep winning. And a point that we have brought up many times over the last couple of weeks is that it's safe to keep rooting for that, because the Cowboys still get a chance to play the Lions, obviously, on the night that Jimmy Johnson's going to go into the Ring of Honor. So even if in some world Dallas and Detroit are quote unquote tied for the one seed at that moment in time, the Cowboys control the opportunity to beat them and take it outright from them. And this point has honestly picked up a little bit more life because the Lions lost last week, because the Lions are now a full game behind the Cowboys in terms of the numerical standings. As you can see, Dallas at 10-3 and Detroit at 9-4. It is really not that big of a slight or a demerit against the Cowboys in the race against Detroit if the Lions keep winning. Again, presuming the Cowboys obviously keep winning themselves. So that's why we're rooting for Detroit. I know that one is a little bit different. As we move on, we want to see the New York Giants win. We want to see the Buccaneers win, and then we'll get to the rest in a minute. Let's talk about the Giants and the Bucs. As we go back to the standings here, the Giants are not really a factor. I understand that they are 5-8. I understand that they technically have life in the playoffs, and I'm fine letting them believe and enjoy the moment that they are currently in, or believe in the moment that they are currently in. And we kind of want them to do that, all right? As Cowboys fans, if you're enjoying the Tommy DeVito thing, fine. By all means, it really is of no consequence to you as a Dallas Cowboys fan for the Tommy DeVito magic to keep on rolling. Why? These are the benefits of the Giants continuing to win. One, the Giants continue to hurt their draft position. Obviously, the Giants have been through a horrible season yet again, and they're not even going to wind up with a top 5 pick as a result of it all. If they push their first round pick outside the top 10, that's even better. It assures that the Giants are going to put themselves way out of quarterback territory relative to the first round of the 2024 NFL draft. That is what we want to see. Beyond that, maybe you are afraid of the Saints. That's kind of a subplot to this particular week, rooting against New Orleans, but it's really about rooting for New York, because while the Giants obviously this week are facing off against the Saints in the Superdome, as we look towards the remaining schedule, the rest of the games across the entire NFL over the course of the remainder of the regular season, the Giants still have to play the Philadelphia Eagles twice. And we need to see the Eagles lose as many games as possible, obviously. So we want the vibes. We want the cutlets. We want all the stuff, all the, Tommy DeVito stuff. We want all of that at a maximum. We want it at the highest possible degree so that the Giants can hopefully steal one. I mean, obviously in the best case scenario, both games against the Philadelphia Eagles. So we are rooting for the Giants. We're rooting for good times. We want to see the Giants continue to win so that, again, they can hurt their draft position, and once more, that they can hopefully have enough positive energy next week when they play the Eagles, and then hopefully in the regular season finale in Week 18 as well. So let's get back to the rooting guide. We mentioned the Buccaneers over the Packers. What are we doing here? Remember, I know we're hopscotching around a lot, but it's because we have to lay out the full context of everything. The Packers are right there behind the Vikings. They're a wild card contending team. We want to push all of them down to give the Cowboys as much room for error, as much, ability once again to confirm, to solidify, to lock in their wild card positioning if they do not wind up winning the NFC East. So again, they can manufacture their own bye if they choose to do so in Week 18 on the road at FedEx Field. The Buccaneers happen to be the 4 seed and would currently happen to be the team that hosted the loser of the NFC East. So rooting for them really kind of damages this situation in no real way. If you're at a place where you prefer the Cowboys, if they're the 5 seed, to play the Bucs or the Falcons or the Saints, you can certainly root towards those overall goals. But we're just not at a place with 4 weeks left in the regular season where we're ready to say this is the best matchup for the Dallas Cowboys, because so much can happen in the time that is yet to come. Let's get back to the rooting guide. It should go without saying that we're rooting against the San Francisco 49ers because they are currently the 1 seed in the NFC. They are the team we are the most afraid of. I understand being brave. I understand, having a sense of hope if the Cowboys do have to go to Santa Clara at some point in the playoffs, but we do not want them to have the bye. We do not want to have to face them at all. We are definitely afraid of the 49ers, and once again, we want to prioritize Dallas having the best possible path in the playoffs, which would obviously be the 1 seed, which means we need the 49ers to lose at some point between now and the end of the regular season. The Cardinals are actually going to play an interesting role in all this. This is something I've been talking about on several podcasts and videos we've been doing here. If you look, the Cardinals, who are coming off their bye, so they do kind of have a chance here. I mean, I say that in a very loose way. Depending on where you look, they're about 12-point underdogs. But next week, the Cardinals, we're not talking about them all too much. But 2 weeks from now, they are in Philadelphia. So we are big-time Cardinals fans. We want to see them take, ideally both again, but hopefully at least one of those games. Maybe they can help the Cowboys out and introduce some chaos in the NFC playoff situation. All right, let's get back. Why are we rooting for Washington over the Rams? What does that have to do with any of this? Again, we've been telling you, all of the contending teams in the wild card race, you look at number 8 right there, the Rams, we want to see them lose. We want to see the Cowboys continue to pick up distance between themselves and all those contenders so they can assure that they will be the 5 seed at worst as soon as possible. Also, we want to see Washington hinder and hurt their draft position the same exact way we want to see that happen with the Giants. All right, that takes us to our final one, and it goes without saying, if the Cowboys are going to win the NFC East, they do not control their own destiny to do that. They can win out and still not do it, because as long as the Philadelphia Eagles win out themselves, the NFC East is there. And going back to that remaining schedule, we talked about Tommy DeVito and the Giants getting 2 more games against the Eagles. We talked about the Cardinals getting a game against the Eagles. The Seahawks obviously are the first one for the Eagles over their final 4 games of the regular season. And while the Tommy DeVito thing is a lot of fun, while the Cardinals have been kind of cute as of late, it goes without saying that the highest likelihood, and it's not even really that high of one, but the highest likelihood of the Eagles slipping up and losing a game between now and the end of the regular season is on Monday Night Football on the road against the Seattle Seahawks. We have to get a Eagles loss at some point in time over the course of the next 4 weeks. If it happens on Monday, great. Now we can reassess the entire situation and playoff picture and, kind of put our eggs in the proper baskets as we get set for Christmas. But go Seahawks, please. You couldn't get it done last week against the Niners, although they made it kind of close for just a little bit before San Francisco really pulled away. So that's what we want to see. Once again, this is our rooting guide. Everything we want to see happen over the course of the week. Now, this Eagles-Seahawks game is Monday night, so we will not know the result of it after the Dallas Cowboys play on Sunday afternoon themselves. But these games are in chronological order. As mentioned, the Bengals-Vikings and the Lions-Broncos games are on Saturday, so we'll at least know part of the results when Sunday's action kicks off and we start getting ready for the Cowboys to visit the Buffalo Bills. We will be here, obviously, as soon as that game ends, live on the Blog of the Boys YouTube channel and Twitch channel and Facebook page for the post-game show that we do around here. If you want to hang out with me, then I would love that. My name is RJ Ochoa. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, or Threads at RJ Ochoa, or on TikTok at rj.ochoa. You can send me an email if you would like, rj.ochoa@sbnation.com, or you can leave a comment down below and we will do our best to get to those. But yeah, this is this week's Dallas Cowboys fan rooting guide. One last time, how many do you think we'll get? I think the Bengals will win. I think the Lions will win. I do think the Giants will win and the Bucs will win. I think the least probable ones are the final 3. I don't think that the Cardinals will win or the Commanders will win. I would love to be wrong, but I did pick the Eagles to win this game on Monday Night Football. So hopefully I have to eat some crow and the Eagles continue to flounder. But yeah, thanks so much for hanging out with us, everybody. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you on Sunday after the game.